let's say that I have like a really big purchase that I want to make, like a new pair of sneakers that just dropped, or I'm trying to buy a new laptop or something, or maybe concert tickets. I know you post about going to concerts a lot. So if that's something that I'm trying to buy, right? Why is it important to kind of pause and take your time and think through that decision before clicking the buy button?
You want to think through your decisions because you want to be intentional. You want to make sure that the way that you're spending your money gets you closer to the goals and where you want to be in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 20 years. All of those little decisions now compound into big decisions that we create for our lives in the future. I define a big purchase of anything that is half of one paycheck or more would be considered a big purchase to me.
And I like that because that rule could work for anyone. It's not like a dollar amount. It's like this percentage of how much you earn is, if you spend more than that, it's a big purchase versus spending, like 1% of your income might not be a big deal, but like 5% of your income is a bigger deal.
Yeah. I'm writing my book, and originally we were going with the dollar amount, and I'm like, $100, I'm not rich, but like $100 to me is not a lot, but to some people it is a lot. So I wanted to kind of change it based on like how much work you have to actually do to get this money to purchase it.
Tell us a little bit about how your brain can kind of sometimes get in the way of you making the right decision when it comes to big purchases.
Our brains play tricks on us. FOMO, you get nervous about like you're going to miss out, or maybe you're going to miss the sale and all of those things. But we have to also realize that the whole idea of spending our money comes from people studying our habits and what we think of, what they are predicting that we're going to think of. So they have a whole research of trying to figure out how we're going to buy. We should have some research on how we're going to spend.
Oh, I like that. And also, like, what happens when you don't have a process or some research or some thought going into what you will and won't buy? If you don't do that, what are some of the like repercussions of not having a process?
When you don't have that process, you're just spending money. And maybe you accidentally spend money that was really important. Maybe you needed to pay a bill, or maybe you needed to pay your rent. You don't want your impulse spending now to impact anything that you have going on in the future, any plans or things that you need to survive in the future, which is why you need to think through your spending.
And you have a system for this too, right? To help people think through whether or not they should make a big purchase or like buy something that's cost a lot more than they would typically spend. Can you tell us what that system or process is?
Yeah, I have a process called Check Your Bank. B stands for bring. Does this bring happiness? Does it also take away any extra work that you have to do in the future? What does this decision actually bring to you? A is affordable. Can you afford this? And not just right now, but what about the maintenance? What about some of the other things that is going to have to come into it? The N stands for now or later. So can I get it now? Do I need to get it right this second? Or can I wait a little bit later when it goes on sale or something like that? And the K stands for knockoff. I know the girls call it dupes now, but, a knockoff, it doesn't have to be the exact brand. It doesn't have to be that luxury Coach bag. It could be just something that looks similar and it's still cute, still has the same impact. So what's the knockoff or the alternative to your big purchase that you're trying to buy?
Sometimes when you make these big purchases, you feel a little bit like guilty sometimes, or you just feel like, oh man, like I just spent way more money than I normally would, So how can we go through the process of making big purchases, but without feeling that guilt all the time, or even sometimes?
Sometimes you are going to feel buyer's remorse. And I think that it's okay to sit in that feeling. It's okay to change your mind after you've spent your money. I think number one, make sure you understand any return policies. Any money that you spend there is a way to make it back. Even if you can't sell it right back to the place that you purchased it from, some chances are somebody else may want that exact same thing and will pay the exact same price that you paid for it. So don't ever feel like any decision or any money decision that you make, you are stuck with. There is always a way that you can turn it around, get out of the deal. But if you ever feel bad about spending money, take it back to the store.
Yeah, I love that. Do not be ashamed to return something, because the reality is there are other ways you could be using that money. So it makes sense to say, hey, don't be scared to return something just because you feel like, oh, I'm gonna look a certain way. So no, so what? Get your money back. Here are some vocabulary terms for today's episode. Big purchase. Anything that's going to cost you half of a paycheck or more. Impulse purchase. When you buy something in the spur of the moment without planning it or thinking through its implications. Buyer's remorse. Feeling bad for spending money or having anxiety after spending money. Did you know that more than half of Americans feel regret about their financial choices? Mykail gave us some really good tips today for how to make better money decisions around big purchases. And I wanted to give you a real life example about how to think through a big purchase like that. Now, I know Mykail and she loves concerts. That's like a big thing in her personal budget. So I wanted to make sure to ask her about that.
I love concerts, and Beyonce was coming. My mom and I are huge Beyonce fans. We have never gone to a Beyonce concert live, and I knew that the tickets were going to be pretty expensive. So I, had to check myself and say, like, how much can you afford? Let's go through the framework, right? So B, what does it bring? It brings me closer to the queen. It brings me closer to Beyonce, and it gives me this experience. And also, it also brings me and my mom having this kind of mother-daughter event together. We really don't get a lot of time to do that together. So that was a lot of good things that Beyonce was bringing. A, can I afford it? So that's why in this instance, I set a $500 limit. This is how much I can afford, all in $500. And N, do I need it now or later? This was a now decision because the tickets were going fast. You had to see me on Ticketmaster, going crazy. And K, is there a knockoff or alternative? And is there a knockoff Beyonce? I just don't think so. So those are the kind of things that I had to think about before buying those Beyonce tickets, because I love Beyonce, but I'm not going to go broke for Beyonce now.
Beyonce definitely not going to go broke for us.
Okay.